Hey guys, today I'm going to be taking a look at a Linux distribution that I don't know anything about. That Linux distribution is called SharkLinux. SharkLinux has been requested a number of times by viewers of this channel for me to review. In particular, one viewer of this channel, a guy that goes by the very colorful username Mr. Go F Yourself. Mr. Go F Yourself posts on every single video I make, hey, when are you going to try SharkLinux? Well, it's gotten to the point where I just have to review this thing because he just will not leave me alone until I review SharkLinux. Apparently, Mr. Go F Yourself, he runs SharkLinux and he loves it, so I'm going to take a look at it. So again, I don't know anything about it. I go to distrowatch.com though, and I do a search for a distribution called Shark, and click Go, and I get Shark OS with this logo here that says SharkLinux, and it is discontinued. It was based on Gentoo. It has not had a release since 2004, so I'm sure that this is not what Mr. Go F Yourself was asking me to review. Luckily, when I Google SharkLinux, I did find SharkLinux at sharklinuxos.org, their website. So I was going to go through their website here and see what SharkLinux is all about. The problem is the SharkLinux website here sucks pretty bad. It really doesn't give you that much info about the distro. The homepage here just has this little blurb on the homepage: do Linux differently, virtual environments of all shapes and sizes, cloud compatible, single evolving release, automatic upgrades, unique shell commands, high compatibility with other platforms. That really doesn't tell me too much. Okay, you support virtual environments. That's great. Every Linux distro does that. Cloud compatible. Okay. Single evolving release. I'm not sure what that means. It may be some kind of pseudo rolling release model that they're following. I'm not sure. Automatic upgrades. I do know what that means. Automatic upgrades. Instead of you manually upgrading your system, the upgrades happen automatically, probably in the background. You probably don't even see those things. Unique shell commands. Very few Linux users are going to be interested in their unique shell commands. High compatibility with other platforms. I'm not sure what other platforms they're talking about. Windows, maybe? I scroll down a little bit, and I get to Why SharkLinux, and I click on that page. And it's not much here. It's more of the same from that blurb about virtualization, about KVM and QEMU and probably VMware and VirtualBox. Yeah, you support virtual machines. Great. Constant evolution, constantly changing. So I'm guessing it is not, even though it's based, I think, on Ubuntu, because it says it's built on Xenial LTS. They also talk about it's ever-changing, so I think some packages are rolling. I'm not sure about that. The web page could be a little bit better, though. There's not much to it. We have this About page, and there's nothing else. Like, I click over here, and it says no menu set. So whatever template they built this website on, they really haven't completed it. There's nothing else to look at. But anyway, I won't harp on the fact that their website sucks too much because it is a new project. So I'm going to go ahead and install SharkLinux here in a virtual machine inside VirtualBox. Got my cup of coffee. I really needed it too. For you guys that know that I live in the southern U.S., I live in Louisiana, and it's that time of year where there's just pollen on everything. And I've been sneezing, my eyes, my throat, these allergies. It'll be alright, so I'm going to drink my coffee just to get through this video, and then after this I'll take some medicine to clear up these allergies a little bit. I'm thinking a double glass of bourbon. Alright, it's been hung on this screen here for about a minute now. I paused the video for a while, but it looks like it's trying to load some kind of live environment, but nothing is happening. I might need to go ahead and reboot this virtual machine again and see if it comes up the second time I go through this, because this may have froze up. And it's been on this screen here forever. Okay, guys, so I actually rebooted the virtual machine. I restarted it. And the second time I did this, the live environment loaded immediately and the installer automatically opened. So I'm not sure what the problem was that first time, but it's a live environment. They can be kind of buggy. Plus, I'm running this in a VM, so not a big deal. Anyway, the installer is the standard Ubuntu installer, the Ubiquity installer. So English has been chosen for me. I'm going to click continue. Do I want to download updates while installing SharkLinux? Yes. Do I want to install third-party software? Yes. And I click continue. Alright, this next screen is a little bit different than your standard Ubiquity installer. Your standard Ubiquity installer just has the options of automatically partition your drives or manually partition your drives. By default, you don't have an automatic partition your drives button that you click on. You actually have this screen. It does automatically partition your drive, but it shows you the scheme here. It's creating /dev/sda1, an extended 4 file system. Mount point, of course, is root. It's going to format it, of course. It's also creating a swap partition. It's giving that swap partition 4 gigs. So I think I gave this virtual machine 4 gigs of RAM. That's probably why it's doing 4 gigs of swap. Anyway, I'm going to click install now. And it's going to ask me, do I really want to continue with this, because it's going to format the drive and write to the disk. But of course, this is a virtual machine, so nothing will be damaged by doing this. Alright, the installer has correctly chosen the central time zone in the US for me, so I'm going to click continue. Right, the installer has correctly chosen English US for my keyboard layout. I can test out the keyboard in this test field. Everything's working correctly. I'm going to click continue. Alright, we need to create our username and password. I chose DT for my username, and I created a very difficult to guess password for that user. We have the option of log in automatically or require a password to log in. I like to require a password to log in. I'm going to click continue. Alright, and the install starts. It'll probably take 5 to 10 minutes for the install to complete. So I'm going to pause the recording. I will say that I didn't know much about SharkLinux going into this. They include a slideshow in the Ubiquity installer. This is standard in the Ubiquity installer. It always comes with a slideshow. You can choose what slides you want to put in your distro. And SharkLinux apparently features the Mate desktop. Let me go back to that slide. It features the Mate desktop paired with the Whisker menu. That's interesting. The Whisker menu, isn't that an XFCE menu? Anyway, Mate desktop Whisker menu. And to ensure 100% functionality, SharkLinux is developed exclusively in a KVM-powered cloud server. So when they mentioned that SharkLinux was very compatible with virtualization, with virtual machines, and that sort of technology, what they mean is the developer, he pretty much develops this thing in a virtual machine. That's why it works on virtual machines. That's kind of cool. It also mentions support for foreign platforms, so other Linux distributions, and for non-Linux operating systems. So there's varying support for, looks like Fedora, Mint, Ubuntu, SUSE. They even have the Windows logo here, so I'm assuming things like Wine are probably installed. Maybe Play on Linux is installed, Wine Tricks. And of course, the virtual environments that are supported, libvirt, Key, EMU, KVM, OpenStack, Docker, Juju, and the list goes on. I will give SharkLinux props on the slideshow. Most Linux distributions don't do much with the slideshow. They tell you a little bit about the distro, but not much. This was actually pretty informative. This actually was more informative than the SharkLinux website. So I give their slideshow A+. Okay, this was interesting. The installer completed and it restarted itself while it's asking me to remove the installation media. So most installers, when they complete, they ask you to restart the machine yourself. You know, you have to click restart the machine. This one just automatically did it. That's kind of cool because honestly, if you're installing an operating system, you always want to reboot the machine and go ahead and complete the installation. So, okay. And the installation has completed, and the machine is rebooting. Alright, we get to our login manager. And we're going to go ahead and log in to SharkLinux. Okay. And this is SharkLinux. I'm not exactly sure what version of SharkLinux this is. The ISO didn't have a version number or any kind of code name to it. All it had was a date. I believe it was March 21st. Let me check that out. Didn't have a date on it either, but I believe March 21st was the date of the ISO on the SourceForge website. Anyway, it automatically starts this post-installation script running here. I guess it's configuring some stuff for us. Actually, it looks like it's removing some stuff for us. Anyway, I'm going to pause the video. I'm not sure how long this little post-installation script is going to take. Alright, that post-installation script finished running, and it automatically launched our Welcome to SharkLinux greeter here. We have 9 things in the greeter. We have automatic maintenance, Shark extras, system backup. I'm assuming that's a backup and restore utility for making snapshots of your system. We have make swap. That's interesting. Maybe that would be interesting in a live disk. Or actually, it's probably making a swap file if we didn't create a swap partition during the install. So that's probably what that would be for. Obviously, I created a swap partition. Or SharkLinux did the swap partition as part of its automatic partitioning. We have SharkLinux expansion. I'm not sure what that is. I need to actually review the documentation and check on what that is. System time zone. Sudo policy. I'm going to click on this because that's interesting. Sudo policy. Alright, sudo password requirement. SharkLinux does not require a password when sudo is used in a terminal. You can change the default to require sudoers to confirm their password, but changing the default may prevent other functions from working as intended. So, sudo does not require a password. I'm not sure I like that. But it says you can change it, but changing it back to requiring a password might break some stuff. So I'm not going to bother changing it back. I'll just do without the password. We also have a button for system settings and bug reports, support and bug reports. Alright, reading through what some of these 9 things do in the welcome screen on the SharkLinux website. They do mention in their documentation that we really do need to run the SharkLinux expansion program. It says that should be the first thing you do. Install SharkLinux expansion. So I'm going to go ahead and install it. Not exactly sure what SharkLinux expansion is, but I guess I'll find out after we've installed it. Alright, reading from the web page again about the SharkLinux expansion. Let's see. It is highly recommended this be one of the very first things you do. The install sets up the base system and gets you started, but at this point, you really only have a Xenial install with Mate Desktop and a handful of standard programs. For some, this may be sufficient, but in order to make use of all SharkLinux's features and really experience the OS as intended, you'll inevitably need to install the expansion. It's best to just do this immediately. Absolutely no upstream packages are enabled without the expansion, and many one-click installs depend on this installation. So, a very important program. Alright, so the SharkLinux expansion finished running and installing whatever it needed to install. We need to automatic maintenance. I don't know if I need to run this, but I'm going to click it. I'm assuming this probably, it turns on our automatic updates. So we can go ahead and auto system on, auto system off. Auto system is active by default, so they're automatically turned on. Let's see what Shark extras are. Okay. So this is just your extra programs, some virtual machine stuff for virtual machines and containers. Application build scripts, additional system tools. We have some firewall stuff. Cockpit, FireGel. We have GIMPs, extension pack, not sure if all of this is installed by default or if this is something we can install. Let me click on Wine, for example. Install Wine. Yeah, so these are just links to the installer for these programs. Okay, that's pretty cool that they include that, though. I'm going to click System Backup to see what System Backup utility they're using. It looks like the standard Ubuntu backup utility, Deja Du. I believe that's a GNOME tool. Really nice backup utility. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go through the menu system here and show you all the programs installed by default in SharkLinux. So I'm going to go to their Start menu here. That's funny that they name it Start. You know, the old Start menu in Windows. What was it? Was it Windows 95 that had that Start menu? Anyway, you click the Start menu, which is this whisker menu here. And we go to, well, I'm just going to go through the categories here. Under Internet, we have Dropbox installed by default. That's interesting. A lot of distros don't install something like Dropbox by default because it's not free and open source software. We have Filezilla. Filezilla is a FTP program, file transfer protocol. Is for uploading files to a remote server. For you guys that like build websites, do any kind of web development, Filezilla is a handy tool to upload to your web server. We have Firefox Nightly for our browser. That's an interesting selection too. Really cool front page here, this custom page with the time and date, Firefox Nightly on SharkLinux. Today's particular Firefox Nightly is version 61.0A1. So right away, SharkLinux is not worried about shipping stable packages. They're shipping some pretty fresh packages. Also under Internet, we have Google Chrome. Again, Google Chrome, not Chromium, which is free and open source software. Google Chrome, which is closed source, proprietary garbage. MegaSync, that easy automated syncing between your computers and your mega cloud drive. Not something you see installed by default on any Linux distro, really. I've never seen that MegaSync program installed before on a Linux distro. We have OpenDesktop.org. Not exactly sure. There's no description to it. Install in progress, so that is the installer for OpenDesktop.org. Oh well, I guess I'll let it run. That way I can figure out exactly what it is. Also under Internet, we have pCloud Drive for your pCloud Drive client. We have Rambox. So that's another cloud utility. I will give SharkLinux credit. They install a lot of software that I'm not familiar with. Of course, OpenDesktop.org finished installing. It's almost like it's a web app. Of course, it takes you to OpenDesktop.org, the website. And we have the option of going to GNOME Look, XFCE Look, Box Look, you know, all those look.org sites. I guess for installing themes. That's pretty cool. Rambox is another similar kind of program. It looks like it's more of a browser, but I'm not really sure what Rambox is. It's got a lot of links to different stuff. Links to various internet services, web services, cloud services. Anyway, Rambox. I just noticed the wallpaper changed here. You guys notice that the wallpaper, the desktop wallpaper changed? So apparently SharkLinux is using a rotating wallpaper. Back to Internet. We have our remote server. I'm assuming this is probably Remina. And it's for, remote desktop. Let's see. Thunderbird is our email client. UGET is a download manager. Web Catalog is an app store with thousands of exclusive apps for your Mac and PC. I'm going to click it. Web Catalog. Yeah, continue with Google. No, I'm not going to. Never mind. I try not to do any Google services. I'm not logging in with any Google accounts. Alright, under Settings, we have your standard settings. Additional drivers, Adobe, Appearance, AppGrid. I'm assuming AppGrid is going to be our software, our GUI software center. Pretty cool, actually, GUI software center, AppGrid. You want to install something, you can search through the categories here. For example, under Arts, we have Vlc Media Player under Arts. That's not where I would expect to find that. But say I want to install VLC here in AptGrid. I just click on it. Alright, and you know what? It's already installed because instead of an install button, I have a launch button. Yeah. So we had already had VLC, but had I not, you'd click an install button and it would install. That's AptGrid. Alright, back to system settings. We have our backup utility again. Again, that's Deja Dupe. We have our control center, your standard control center. Pretty much it shows everything that the system menu here shows you. We have disk, display, file management, gparted. We have our Quake terminal settings. Software and updates, that should be the standard Ubuntu software and update utility. Yeah, this is where we can add and remove repos. We can update the system. We can install our third-party drivers, which I didn't install any. At least not when I ran the installation. I chose not to run through those for sake of time. I know when I made the video of the installation, I had it ticked on when I clicked OK, but I ticked it off before that, just for sake of time. We also have the Synaptic package manager installed here in SharkLinux. This is another GUI package manager. It's not full of images, you know, it's text-based, but it's still very easy. The Synaptic package manager is a very easy package manager. So you want to search for a program to install. So say I want to install HTOP. I don't know if HTOP is already installed or not, but if it's not, I definitely would want to install it. I install it on everything. I just right-click on it when it comes up in the search, mark for installation, click Apply. And right here, apply the following changes if I want to see what's being changed. HTOP is being installed. Okay. Hit Apply. HTOP is being installed. It's done. Now I have the HTOP installed on the system. That's the Synaptic package manager. Under the SharkLinux category in the menu, we have featured software, which is one-click install scripts. This is what we saw earlier in the Welcome to SharkLinux greeter screen. So these are one-click installs. So if I click on FireGel, it's going to install FireGel in one click. LibreOffice, the entire LibreOffice suite, I just one click, probably click OK, and that's it. It'll install the entire LibreOffice suite. So that's pretty cool. Have the virtual machine stuff again, AptGrid again, virtual machine manager. Let me click on that, see what that's all about. Again, our wallpaper continues to rotate. Alright, yeah, so this is KeyEMU. This is a virtual machine manager powered by libvirt. And again, I'm assuming a lot of this virtualization stuff here is because, again, on the SharkLinux website, it mentioned that the developer actually develops SharkLinux inside a virtual machine. So that's why he probably uses a lot of this virtualization stuff on a daily basis. That's why he includes it on the ISO. Of course, our terminal is the standard Mate terminal. Mate terminal 1.16.3. I noticed that our shell here looks a little strange. The way it's laid out, the shell theme. Is this bash? Let me type bash. Yeah, that is bash. So the shell is a bash shell. Close the terminal. So let me go back to the menu, SharkLinux. Now this menu was not like this before. There were actually programs, and now it's just listing categories. Featured software. Now it actually lists all the one-click installs under a subcategory, featured software. Wonder why that didn't show the first time I had done this. Anyway, tools, Google Drive, mainline kernel, make swap, PowerShell, Sudo policy, the Nix package manager, virtual environments, a bunch of virtualization stuff. Okay, yeah, we've got Portainer, Convert, Vagrant Box, Hyper, LXD panel, QLC console, Minikube, Kubernetes, Shark Cloud Manager, and a whole bunch of other stuff here. Under accessories, we have the backup utility again, Deja Dupe, Kaja, which is the file manager in the Mate desktop, Kaja 1.16.6. We have our disk utility. Let me open up the disk utility. Let's see how much disk space it's taking up. I had a 15 gig drive on this virtual machine. I created a 15 gig virtual hard drive, and it's using about 58.4% of that drive. So that's not too bad on disk space. You know, a lot of programs installed, but not a ton of programs, right? So you'll get all your work done, but it's not just overly packed with a lot of useless software. We have calculator for our calculator. We have the Quake terminal, which is our drop-down terminal. You use F12 on the keyboard for Quake. Just F12 to open, F12 to close. Pretty cool drop-down terminal for those guys that like to live in a terminal. Other accessories are your standard stuff. The Mate search tool, the Mate terminal again, Pluma, which is Mate's plain text editor. Alright, under education, we have LibreOffice Math. Also playing around with this menu. I realize now why this SharkLinux menu looks different now from when I used it before. I'm used to menu systems where you automatically hover over a category and they change. So earlier when I thought I was looking at the SharkLinux menu, I was looking at the settings menu. You actually have to hover over the SharkLinux menu and click it. So, and the only reason I realized that is because I did that with education a second ago. I thought I was in education and I was still looking at another category. You actually have to click the category. LibreOffice Math under education. Under graphics, we have the Eye of Mate image viewer. We have GIMP, of course, installed. Inkscape is also installed. We have the Mate color selection tool. Office, we have LibreOffice Math, LibreOffice Writer. If you want the rest of the LibreOffice suite, it comes with that one-click install that I showed you earlier. Multimedia, we have Audacious. That's interesting. You open up Audacious. So kind of an old-school minimal kind of player. It's a nice player, though. We have Clementine also installed, so two different audio players. Clementine is a much more full-featured audio player, much more modern. Clementine's awesome. But I don't know why you need both Audacious and Clementine. We have the OpenShot video editor. That's interesting. OpenShot is an okay video editor, but Kdenlive is so much better. Now, they're not going to install Kdenlive on a machine that also doesn't use KDE as its desktop, because Kdenlive does require some dependencies, but still, Kdenlive is miles better than OpenShot for a video editor. Let me go ahead and open up OpenShot. Let's see what version they're on now. Let's see, OpenShot 1.4.3. Yep. And of course, earlier, Vlc Media Player. We already knew that was installed because when we opened AppGrid, we knew VLC was installed because we could launch VLC from the AppGrid app. VLC 2.2.2 Weatherwax. And the fonts are a little strange here. Alright, I'm going to right click on the desktop. I'm going to choose Change Desktop Background. Let's see what kind of wallpapers we're working with. And it looks like it's your standard Mate wallpaper pack. This is the Mate wallpaper pack that's standard in Debian's repos, Ubuntu's repos. So, same wallpapers I've seen a million times. Well, I mean, they're nice wallpapers. Pretty cool wallpapers. But nothing terribly unique. Pretty cool stuff, though. Yeah, I like this wallpaper, but you know what? I'm going to go back to this one because this one has a Conky on the desktop. This little system information stuff on the desktop. I'm assuming that's being done with Conky. I wonder why none of the other wallpapers include that. Well, not exactly sure why that is. You know what? I really like the light colored wallpaper, though. But the light wallpaper did not stay. I wonder why not. When I click on it, close. Okay, it stayed that time. Maybe I just happened to change it right before it was time to rotate the wallpapers again. Alright, so, and of course the wallpapers change like 2 seconds after I mention it. Yeah, so the wallpapers, something's going on with the Wallpaper Changer. I wonder what is controlling that. Variety is the name of the program. Let's see what's going on there. So change wallpaper every 5 minutes. How about no? Don't start Variety when the computer starts, and don't change the wallpaper. And don't change the wallpaper on start. Yeah. Now I can go back and choose whatever wallpaper I want to go with. Okay, and it should stay. Back to SharkLinux. We have our sys tray here in the panel. Clementine's still running from where I launched it earlier. So is the MegaSync app. Let me see if I can exit out of that. Rambox is also still running. I forgot to close all these programs when I launched them earlier. We have our calendar, time and date calendar, and then we have our session for suspend, hibernate, restart, cancel, and shutdown. Let me cancel that. Alright, and the wallpaper just changed on me again. I thought I turned that off. Alright, so I'm going to Control-Alt-T in Ubuntu-based distros usually brings up a terminal, and that's the case here. The name of that program was Variety, so I'm assuming kill all Variety would kill that program, if I can spell it correctly. So that should have killed the program. Yeah, I saw the little system information, the monitor go away. Now let me go back to the wallpaper. I wanted, will it please stay now? Anyway, while I got the terminal up, uname -a. This is Linux kernel 4.13.0. So pretty recent kernel. Not like the very latest, but it's not an old kernel by any means. I'm going to pull up HTOP for system monitoring information. CPU usage, very low. But Mate is not very heavy on system resources. Memory usage, also very low, 491 megs. And that's after I was opening up all those programs. I still had some stuff still running down here in the system tray. So really good on CPU and memory. I'm liking what I see here. So what are my thoughts on SharkLinux? Well, it's not bad. The install process is your standard Ubuntu installer, except the part with the partitions. That's interesting the way they do that. Instead of hiding the partition scheme, which kind of scares new users, they put that stuff up front in that certain section of the installer, which I don't think is horrible to do. I think new users need to know what's going on their drives, exactly what's being partitioned, what the scheme is. The install, I give an A. A+. It's the standard Ubuntu install. The actual SharkLinux desktop here with the Mate desktop, I give it a B+. The negatives, I don't like the way the Wallpaper Changer was acting. I mean, it's such a trivial thing, but that's the kind of thing that, like, especially new Linux users, that would bug the hell out of them if they don't know what's going on with their wallpapers, why they can't set it, why it keeps changing on them. Even after you figure out that the Variety program is what's changing it, when I ticked off everything I thought should have killed that thing, I still had to open up a terminal and actually kill the Variety program to finally get it to stop changing my wallpaper. The other thing, I'll knock it down for a little bit, and I admit this is a personal bias. There is a ton of non-free software on the system by default. I mean, a ton of it. And I'm not sure it needs to be there, a lot of it. I mean, all of these like social media and cloud services and web services that are on here, so much of this stuff just needs to not be on here by default. If somebody wants to go get it, that's fine. But I'm not, and of course a lot of this is just one-click installers to install that stuff. That's not too bad, but you know, I like to stick with free and open source solutions when possible. Same thing with adding things like Google Chrome. You included Firefox on here. Why did you also include Google Chrome? Now, if your people are free to go install Google Chrome if they want, but, you know, of course I clicked on Google Chrome. It's asking me, do I want to make Google Chrome the default browser? No. But all in all, SharkLinux is a fine distribution. Install A+, desktop, I give it a solid B+. I think it serves a niche. It is based on the Ubuntu 16.04 LTS, but with a lot of fresh packages, including a lot of daily builds, nightly builds. So it's not getting long in the tooth the way the Ubuntu 16.04 LTS is, like mainline Ubuntu. So if you want a solid base, but with fresh apps, check out SharkLinux, guys. And I want to give a special thanks to Mr. Go F Yourself for recommending SharkLinux to me. So, peace, guys.